unlocking the power of first-party mobile data for hyper-targeted performances marketing. So our panelists are Mr. Gurpreet Singh, Head of Performance from Group M, Mr. Jatin Kapoor, Managing Director, Ads Flourish, Mr. Sai Tota, D2C Revenue Head, Salty, Mr. Tathagat Jena, Head of Online Sales and CMO India and APAC HMD. So the session is chaired by Swati Nathani, co-founder Team Pumpkin.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I think we were just discussing that this is my favorite time to have the panel just after lunch because there's no pressure of what we talk because anyways nobody's listening, everyone's sleeping, so I might as well just sing a Shah Rukh Khan song and get away. But very fortunately, I have this extremely talented gentleman here with me who are going to share very interesting insights on how do we innovatively use first-party data. And I think from the experience I've had with them, discussing internally, I think we are in for some really good insights. So stay tuned as we start our discussions. But before that, could we just quickly have a round of introductions? I'm Swati, I'm co-founder of Team Pumpkin, an integrated marketing agency. Moving to Gurpreet.
Hi, I'm heading performance at Group M.
Hi, my name is Jatin, and I lead a company called Ads Flourish, which is into performance marketing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sai. I head D2C revenue at Salty. We are a fashion accessories brand.
Hi, I'm Tathagat Jena. Mostly people call me as DJ. Where I am is up there. I generally love tech and everything related to tech.
Wonderful. So without wasting much time, because we have a lot of questions and very limited time on us, we'll start with our first questions directed to Gurpreet. Gurpreet, with automation becoming increasingly critical in performance marketing, how do we see it enhancing the first-party mobile data for real-time campaign optimizations?
See, when it comes to first party, there are a few things which have changed are changing very rapidly whenever it goes with the first party data. One is the data compliance for sure, which is data privacy. But again, when it comes to data privacy in India specifically, and also to do with the first party, I think what we have seen, there is a huge scale available from an audience perspective. But one thing which is fairly important for the brands is the match rate, which we generally get for the people so that we can target them. So that is something which defines the quality of the data which a brand is gathering, which will anyways give an input to the match rate, which is fairly important. Second thing is which is very important from overall brand perspective, because we work with close to 500 plus brands, is the scale up of the campaigns. So this is it becomes very imperative for the brands that how they are using their first party data. See, overusing of the first party data will also have its own side effects.
Absolutely.
This is which we have seen very closely, that the X number of data which is available with you, and if you over target your own audiences, I mean, that is also a side effect. So again, we really need to figure out, it's a complete funnel instead of only first party data. See, first party data is an output of what we are doing in the top and the mid funnel. So that is something which the brands need to really look towards, that don't over focus on the first party. Absolutely, it is important how you are utilizing from a bottle funnel perspective or from a lookalike perspective also. I think that's fairly important.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Gurpreet. We'll have our next question with Jatin. Jatin, Ad Flourish focuses on performance marketing solutions. So how has the integration of first-party mobile data improved your ability to deliver hyper-targeted campaigns?
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a great question. So just to share my perspective, I think, first of all, first-party data already have too much of enriched attributes. When you work on a first-party data, you by default get into the consumer behaviors, intent, and preferences of a user. And once you have all these attributes, then you get into a deep dive into the consumer data. Where you get a lot of cohorts which you are able to build, where you can target specific audience basis their preferences, basis their ARPU level. And when you have all these cohorts available, then on a real time you are able to drive or target user through personalized remarketing, retargeting. So I think these all attributes helps a lot, and which, by the way, because in the performance marketing world, where in fact, I would say overall in the ecosystem where the brand money is shrinking day by day, and marketers are now looking at lower funnel. So you need to find out how you can reach as close as possible to a user. And also because first party data is more legitimate because you already have an consensus from a user. So you are safely, I can say, compliant to most of the regulations policies. So as compared to the third party data. So I would say all these attributes definitely helps a marketer to target a user for ultimate goal, which is conversion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jatin. I think we did learn from what Jatin said that how do we actually use this data, which is actually a very validated data to use. We have the rights to use it. We have the intent of the person that we are using it for, and how we can optimize it for delivering better marketing results. But now we'll move on to Mr. Sai. Coming directly from D2C perspective, I think I'm going to ask Mr. Sai, as the D2C revenue head at Salty, how do you leverage first-party mobile data to enhance customer acquisition and retention strategies for D2C space? Because I think for any D2C brand, this is one biggest challenge that we face, acquisition and retention. So we'd love to have your views.
Thank you, Swati. I just want to call out two things. Firstly, I'm 10 days old into the system of Salty. And still, I'll talk about. So basically, with reference to this question, I'll divide this into two different parts. The first one, let me quickly touch base the acquisition part. How we're actually doing it is basically based on the first party data that is available to us. On the one side, the PIA data to the clickstream and the transactional data. Based on these three different kinds of data that is available to us, we put them into different cohorts, and then all the targeting is actually done basis these cohorts based on the cohort behaviors. For example, personalization of products. For example, there are particular behaviors when the customers are buying products coming from different cities. It differs from tier 1 to tier 2 metros and all. Right? So the personalization of the campaigns also is taken care of through these kind of hyper-targeted campaigns done through these cohorts. And when it comes to retention, retention is pretty straightforward based on the transactional data and of course the clickstream data that is available to us. On top of that, of course, there are a lot of marketing automation tools in the industry, right? What we do is using certain optimizations like which time of the is better to target them, kind of, which channel are they active on, kind of, and then make the best use of these. One, of course, we are also saving money at the same time, and also effectively targeting them at the right time to be able to improve the retention cohorts.
Wonderful, Mr. Sai. I think it's very interesting to know in how many different ways the data could be used, and not only from like a basic demographic segmentation, but also now segmentations of what kind of platforms to use, what time to use, and I think it's extremely interesting and relevant for all of us here. Now moving to, should I call TJ?
Feel free.
All right. So now moving to TJ, how does HMD Global address the challenge of using first-party data to cater to vastly different consumer preferences across India and APAC? Because this is one challenge I think a lot of MNCs would be facing. So what's your take on that?
Uh, well, I would not so much focus on APAC right now. I'll just want to put it in a context. Now, what is first party data and how much should you know about a consumer in order to have personalized ad experiences? That's at the root of it. And we being in a tech sector, also the frequency of buying changes. So for me, knowing the consumers as much as, let's say, what a Swiggy Zomato should or a big basket should varies widely. So my consumer, even if I convert, will convert once in 15 to 18 months. So I fully resonate with what Gurpreet said, that in order to restrain, show restraint in hyper targeting your customer to the point of cheesing him or her off. So we are very conscious of that. Also, what this part of the marketing funnel I often encounter in my role as, let's say, sales, because the large part of our sales really comes from marketplace players who have access to all the data and a data of a very highly refined material. So obviously we do not get it direct access, but we work with our partners to do that. This first party data essentially comes from the website and which is common to all of us. So that D2C. Again, what we felt is that 6 to 8 months of being me into this system is that there is a certain pool, and how do I, and I know them, let's say, by past purchase, by name, email, phone number, etc., geolocation. What do I do with it? My challenge, even within a year, was to how do I scale that up? So we kind of threw that data into also, the Google Analytics and DV360 to find more behavioral analytics beyond just these numbers. So that was one way that we are trying to create our own lookalikes and trying to scale that up. Secondly, we also try to get into, Braze also in terms of, trying to understand, more about our consumers. And so this is what we do. But in terms of compliance with, the protocol, that's not been a challenge because yes, like Jatin said, it's all opt-in. We do not store financial data. So it ultimately boils down to the past purchase behavior, etc. But one thing that has been working at a smaller scale for us reasonably well, that instead of only trying to use personalization for your ad targeting, we use WhatsApp for business very, very effectively.
Wonderful. I think, like we said, it's not just limited to a certain number of online tools that we could use for promotion, but also exploring newer options like WhatsApp and exploring newer tools like, or exploring tools like DV360 to understand more behavioral insights for using the first party data. I think it's extremely insightful. But now, I think moving back to Gurpreet, what are the biggest challenges in scaling hyper-targeted performance marketing campaigns using first-party data across diverse audience segments, and how the brands can overcome them? Because Gurpreet works with, like he himself said, 500 plus brands. I'm sure scaling up will be a big challenge. So how do you tackle that?
I think the first and foremost challenge is Google not giving the clarity on when the cookie is deprecating. Every other year it is saying it is going to deprecate, and the brands are working towards it. And when the
It's
date
like the
comes near,
construction in Aerocity.
and whenever the date comes 3 months before, they said, "Oh no, there are another 2 years." Then again, brands say, "Okay, let's hold on to what we are working on. We still have 2 more years." So jokes apart, I guess. See, as I mentioned, in India, scale is not a problem. Uh, but again, it creates a problem that we have a lot of diversity there. So brands, from a first party perspective, when you have the data with you, it poses a challenge of scalability in terms of, as TJ also mentioned, in terms of cohorting the audience and how you want to activate that audience. So I think the moment you over imply on the data which you have, it will give you very fragmented cohorts. So I think that is something which brand needs to be aware in terms of they need to be really take care of it. Second thing is from an automation perspective, not every brand is have that infrastructure ready with them. So there are technologies available in the market, but I guess from first party has to sit with the brand itself. Even so DMPs, CDPs, now DCRs of the world are there. So brands really need to figure out uh, whenever, irrespective of whenever the cookie is deprecating or not, but they needs to own the data and figure out which sort of technology works for them. But that will be owning of the data so that they can utilize it very well. Third thing comes in, the moment you talk about a lot of fragmented data sets, the moment we talk about a lot of diversity, which is in India in terms of multi-language language as well, the creative churning gets a very important place. So you talk about any D2C brand, or so we have a lot of OTTs. So OTT still, I'm quoting a very easy example. That a lot of content keeps on churning out every week. So which means lot many creative. The moment you transfer this to a CPG brand, they have so many products.
Yeah.
And then the moment you go to any client like Amazon, for example, they have millions of products available. So it becomes it becomes very difficult to identify the cohort, which cohort to target when. The database is available, but the technology to churn out that in quick moments. So big billion day sale. Now it has been prolonged for quite some time, but it used to be a day, 2 days, 4, 5 years back. Now it has been a week, 10 days now. But still, in these 10 days also, the products keeps on getting out of stock. What to target, when to target to the consumer from a cohort perspective, and I think this becomes very, very important for the brands to understand that everything is available from a creative standpoint. Are we ready enough? Because if we have done all the science and the creative is, we are not able to churn out the creative at the right time, at the right frequency also, that creates again a challenge. So I think these three challenges are available. Again, I mean, it has do have the solutions. For example, from a creative perspective, we have a DCO technologies available, and there are multiple technologies available. And it works very, very beautifully with brand intact. So I guess these 2, 3 things were very important, which brand should be should able to take care of.
Yeah, of
I
course.
I'll want to add my 2 cents actually, and I can't agree more than with Gurpreet when he says that data is available. I think good news and bad news is yes, data is available, and as he rightly said that some of the ad companies which has a very high, strong, advanced ad tech infrastructure, maybe you can call the Walmarts of the world, Amazons of the world, still have all these ad tech and the layers of ad tech available to understand, study, and use that data on a real time. But when it comes to the long tail, when it comes to the new startups, they are still in a journey where they are struggling to find the business case and are still finding a GTM for their business. So I think data is available, and how to enrich that data, how to use it, how to time it is the key. And I think with a lot of advance, lot of awareness now getting created, uh, all the marketeers, young marketeers, millennials, everyone is now talking about how they can use their data, which is first party data, which they are collecting through their websites on their or through their mobile apps, is something I think is key, which will help them create that ROI for overall their marketing spends and take it in a long way.
Of course. Thank you, Gurpreet, and thank you, Jatin, for the add-on. I think I can't agree more that I think um, while there are a lot of tools and data available, and there's the scaling up can always happen in a market like India, I think the entire execution process needs to be upscaled accordingly. And I think some of the problems even we as an agency get from clients is how do we scale up number of creatives. I think some clients need as high as 500 creatives in a day, different adapts, different videos, different formats of creatives. And I think the entire execution pipeline becomes a challenge when you're planning to scale up a campaign. So very rightly said, Gurpreet, and thank you, Jatin, for the add-in. But I'd ask you the next question, Jatin, is if you could just share with us some example. I'm asking for one example because we're running out of time, of any successful campaign where you've used first-party data to deliver some measurable results.
Yeah, sure. I think we have many successful case studies, but one in the context, if I have to just mention, so recently we worked with one of the very large retail company. I can't disclose the name, but in the retail sector in India, where the goal was to increase the footprints into the offline stores, also increase the online sales. So we use the mobile ads as the medium to push to the audience. So what we have seen that while doing all this exercise, when we were using location-based push notifications, we saw 25% increase on the footfalls in their retail stores. Also, it boosted almost 30%, 25-30% of the online sales through personalized mobile ads. What it also interestingly did was it helped brand to reduce their marketing spends by 30% because through a precise targeting. And yes, of course, it also increased retention of users by 15% because we were having very accurate data to target.
I hope they gave you bonus.
Yes.
So no, I think wonderful because even when we were internally discussing at our agency in terms of how we can use first-party data, and the first use case definitely comes as how do we integrate offline and online. The clients which have both offline and online presence, and I think first-party data usage happens. Makes for the best use case for such clients, and very very good example. Thank you, Jatin. Moving on to Mr. Sai, what role does first party mobile data play in personalizing the customer journey at Salty, or maybe you could also give example of FNP where you spent longer time, and how has it impacted the overall revenues?
Thank you for adding that FNP angle too. Why? Because, yeah, in fact, because we're a 2-year-old startup, that level of personalizing journeys on Salty is still, we're actually trying to lay that roadmap and architecture, trying to set up that architecture. But then, whatever said and done, I'll also probably use a few use cases that we have done probably at FNP. So is using the first party data, there are certain use cases where based on the click stream, basically personalizing the product recommendations, sometimes to cross-sell, sometimes to upsell, and actually increasing the average order values are some use cases that we have done successfully at FNP. And yeah, I think more or less at the end of the day, for example, when even if I talk about Salty, right? As of now, while the brand is actually into fashion accessories, as of now we have launched only jewelry. Going forward, we're actually adding a few more categories. At that point of time, there are a lot of opportunities for us to cross-sell, right? Based on identification of cohorts and all, you can actually cross-sell certain items and all. So those are the such use cases, but certainly we did not actually prove them at Salty as of now. I'm sure using the same framework, I'm sure that we'll be able to do that at Salty too.
Wonderful. Maybe next year's MOBEX, we'll get to see the results. But moving on to TJ, considering HMD Global's extensive reach, what are the best practices you follow to ensure ethical collection and utilization of first-party data? So closing the conversation with a lot of ethical conversations.
So, quick answer to that. Yes, we are already compliant with even the digital protection of 2023. We are also compliant with that. Then on the overall GDPR, because it's a European company, So naturally, the headquarters being at Finland, there are regular trainings all across in order to be compliant on all the customer data. So definitely our website, which is also getting managed centrally in terms of, although we have the back end here, but the interface is still controls globally. So they really look at that we are not trying to collect more data than what is required, and definitely beyond purchase history and transaction, we do not store any kind of financial data, and there is always frequent disclaimers. And even from a media planning standpoint also, we are given an advisory on how not to have over personalization as well. That I will say has not been a challenge, and I will end it with probably one example that sometimes the limited data that we sit with, one needs sometimes a lateral thinking to make it work. So one of the last smartphones that we launched, we always could see that the buyer profile and the user profile were very, very different. So in terms of age and everything. And we saw that across 50,000, 100,000 levels also. And some of it was intuitive that, okay, maybe it is getting used for a gifting purpose. So what can you do really to increase the conversion if it is a large percentage of that is happening? And we just exited a festive season. So two things that we did is that we, for a limited period of time before Diwali and Dhanteras, we offered a gifting, gift wrapping solution as well onto the site, and also we offered something which you will normally not associate. It was a kind of a sort of on the spot thinking that why don't we offer a silver coin, right? And normally you would, the first reaction was that, oh no, we are a tech brand, right? We should be offering, accessories, this and that. But then we kind of linked the silver coin to if you're gifting it to somebody elder at that point of time. I don't know, I can't put data to kind of, prove it, but it just kind of flew for the 20 days that we ran it. So usage of what you make out of the data sometimes makes a lot of difference, especially if you are dealing with limited amount of data.
No, perfect. I think we are closing the session with a perfect example we wanted to have. I think this is exactly how the first party data is meant to be used. And thank you to all my wonderful panelists. It was a great discussion. It was extremely insightful, and I am actually carrying a lot of insights to go back and use into my work. And thank you so much, everyone. Wonderful meeting you all.
Thank you.